I'm just going to briefly outline how the stuck is this process of the you. That right now we're calling your stuck this place here, where your current reality is, and we're going to call that stuck sculpture 1. We're just calling it where we begin, sculpture 1. Okay? So from our sculpture 1 now, I'm going to ask if just individually, just on our own, for a few minutes, we can practice the method. So the method is going to be first to clarify your shape, to clarify it, which means, we make a shape, it has meaning for me in that this is kind of how I feel. You could say, for me it's like pulled here, pulled there, with a kind of vague focus. And so I'm clarifying this for myself. Movement, just like verbal language, can be muddy or it can be very clear. It's not vague in my body. I really feel, in this case, these forces that are pulling in different directions and a kind of strangeness around the focus. So I'm going to clarify that for myself, what that feels like. Then I'm going to even more amplify or intensify or get even more into it. Because in this particular method, we are not trying to get out of stuck. The first stage is that we're going to lean more into it. Because stuck is a gold mine of information, right? Everything you need is in the mess. So we're not going to outsource this and get someone else to come and fix this from the outside. We're going to say, in this mess I'm in, this stuck situation, are the real, gems of what actually is going on here. So I'm going to listen more and more and more into my stuck. I'm going to turn toward it rather than be going like this to my stuck. I'm going to be really curious about my stuck. What else? What's happening there? What's going on? What's going on? I'm going to sense into it more. Is that clear? So the view is not, this is not like a problem solution method here. This is how to know more, how to become more and more familiar with what actually the current reality is. In this case, it's the shape. I'm using this stuck shape. So by sensing in, thoughts might come to my mind. I might have ideas, plans, whatever, somehow manipulations. But I'm going to let that go, what I think about it, and actually notice more. What does it feel like? What about the shoulders? What about that upper body? What about the weight? What does it actually feel like? More and more and more, because that is where the information is coming. All of your shapes look great. I'm just going to remind everybody, it's not about acting or mime or pretending. It's about embodying and being, and you do not need to plan or have an idea of what you're doing. It's just going into where it is without thinking too much about it, without worrying about it. You obviously don't know what you're doing. That's like the basis of creativity. You don't know what you're doing. You have no idea. So it doesn't matter, right? What does it feel like? What does it feel like? So this whole part of going down and into your leaning into it is going to take a while, like a minute. Don't rush and think, well, that's unpleasant. I'm just going to jump across over here. Try to really become familiar. Then you lighten up on the whole thing. Just lighten up, and there's nothing happening. You're just hanging out there. But stuck is not sustainable. It is not nothing in nature is stuck. It's not sustainable. there's a crack, right? Or there's a soft spot. It will start to move. Somewhere in the body, it just doesn't want to do that anymore. And it'll start to move in some way. You want to just follow that along. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't need to think about why. Just follow whatever the body feels like doing until it comes to some kind of end, like you just stop doing it. And that's what we call sculpture 2. So you let go. Not much is going on here. You're just hanging out. You haven't moved at all yet, right? But then, let come. Something happens here. And you move around, do whatever you're doing, till you get over to here. Sculpture 2. Little crystal, little seed of something. Then, what was that about is the point. How then do you access this body knowing? Like, what is it that you're listening to? So in the beginning it might seem like, oh, I have no idea, don't get it. Doesn't matter. Whatever, there's something that's shifted. It started here, stuck download, number 1, stuck here, and something happened to get over to here. So what happened? Did it start small? Did it get and then get bigger? Did it start like out of one side is lower than the other side? Did it have a little travel pattern? What is it traveling? Is it? It ends here. It's giving something maybe, or receiving something, or something, gesture. So I take a minute and I just reflect on that. This feels very different than this. They feel different. And there's something about that journey that tells me something about my actual situation. I get information from that. I notice that the movement starts, with this, whatever this means to me here, it starts to loosen up. It starts to actually affect this. It starts movement happening. It starts to go in a certain direction. It's a little wobbly, but it's wobbly, and it goes until it offers something, let's say. This is just my interpretation of what might have happening. And so I think about, what does that have to do about my actual case? My actual case, which is quite stuck in these two directions. Can it actually, maybe if I just lightened up on this, I know what this is, right? I lighten up, maybe that lighten up on that would release something to travel a little bit forward and allow me to offer what it is I'm sort of trying to get at here. So that's my kind of story that comes out of the movement itself from sculpture 1 to sculpture 2.